Respected Chair, distinguished leaders, comrades and friends, media persons, ladies and gentlemen. I feel honored and privileged to speak a few words in front of you. I also thank you for taking time to participate in this seminar and engage with us towards promoting the ideals of Marxism. In particular, I would like to thank our international friends who traveled from various countries across the world to make it to this program. Your presence means a lot for us. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge your dedication and commitment to our common cause of Marxism and socialism. I express my gratitude to you for your continuous love, solidarity, goodwill towards Nepal, Nepali people, and the Nepali Communist movement. The spontaneous support and cooperation we have been receiving from you, your parties and your countries has been of tremendous help for us, including in our difficult times. A number of our Nepali friends have worked hard in putting things in place for this event. Your remarkable contribution and active participation have added more value to this program. I thank you all. The objective of this international seminar was to reinforce the importance of Marxism by emphasizing its innovative application. Our purpose was to observe Marx's birth bicentenary and engage in the theme as well as to learn from each other's experiences. I am fully confident that the scholarly presentations and rich discussions we have had over the course of last 2 days have made important contributions towards this. Therefore, I do not want to speak for long and repeat what has been already said. Please allow me just to dwell upon briefly on the theme of innovative use of Marxism and then share with you the priorities of present government of Nepal with special focus on our foreign policy engagements. Dear friends, the world has witnessed tremendous changes since Karl Marx was born 200 years ago. Human societies have developed novel and yet more complicated structures. As a result, multifarious and unprecedented issues have risen in humanity to deal with. In last 170 years, the sphere and influence of Marxism has also widened through different forms and structures. Its usage and interpretations have made significant contributions to philosophy, politics, history, economics, aesthetics, and many other fields. Through its various avatars, Marxism has guided the overall change and the revolutionary shift in all areas of human knowledge. In doing so, however, what has not changed is the very crux of Marxism. That is the spirit of questioning the established structure, the undercutting of the commonly accepted ideas and redrawing the traditional boundaries. The critical perspective of Marxism has helped redefine the relationship between haves and have-nots, rulers and ruled, center and margin, and truth and nonsense. In whatever forms and uses it may be, Marxism calls us to explore opportunities for change in favor of working class and disadvantaged groups. It invites us to be brave, creative, and involved for the cause of change. Marxist interpretation of history and the society questions winner-takes-all approach of markets as promoted by capitalists. And it calls for redistribution of wealth by preventing it from flowing in the hands of a few. Based on this fundamental and universal principle, Marxism has been contextualized and localized in many countries and places across the globe. While maintaining its guiding principle is the key, innovation in its application helps address unique and distinct needs and challenges of different societies. Such innovation must have made in relation to local realities pertaining to production modes and relations. This means that all socialist movements need not necessarily have uniformity in their approaches. They may have their own unique attributes and characteristics. However, as their common trait is Marxism, they can form various platforms for sharing unique experiences. We must bear in mind that the main aim must be to strive for social progress that brings about positive changes in people's lives. And we must know that there are no obvious pathways to the social progress we aspire for. So, the art of innovation in Marxism is the art of changing the economic and social relations. This is a continuous process, not a point in our efforts. Such process must be irreversible, both in terms of history and commitment. Looking for future is necessary, but cautious efforts to change the present are equally critical. And special realities may warrant that we move fast, but we must also ensure that we do not end way short. Dear friends, the 70 years of Nepali Communist movement was about similar innovative application of Marxism. I must say that our political movements and struggles were both unique and homegrown. We look Marxist ideals as our guiding principle, but appropriated them in relation to our historical needs and realities. I firmly believe that the success our movement has achieved so far was due to our readiness to adjust Marxism as per the local context of Nepal. Having said this, however, we must consider that we have a long way to go in terms of attaining socialist goals and objectives. We can be proud of what we have achieved at a political front, but we are yet to get our economic and developmental aspirations materialized. In this context, I would like to briefly touch upon our priorities with a special focus on our engagements at international level. The present government of Nepal has its topmost priority to build on the political gains made so far and take on the generational challenge of socio-economic progress. And we are fully committed to transforming the development aspirations of our people into reality. The present government has the motto of prosperous Nepal and happy Nepal. Its policies and programs have been founded on the same fundamental pillars. They include nationalism, our commitment to democracy and fundamental freedoms, and social justice based on equality. Our efforts for stability, progress, and sustainable development are guided by the goals of good governance and inclusive public participation. If we closely examine these goals and principles, we find that they are instinctively associated to Marxist perspectives. Our foreign policy engagements are guided by these pillars as well as our development priorities at domestic front. We aim at promoting our national interest in international arena while remaining committed to fulfilling our international obligations. Independent foreign policy and balanced conduct of relations have been the hallmarks of our external engagements. Our focus has been on promoting sovereignty, territorial integrity, independence, and non-interference while adhering to the principles of Panchashila, non-alignment, UN Charter, international law, and norms of world peace. Our motto has been and will continue to be amity with all and enmity with none. The development imperatives at home will guide our diplomatic engagements abroad, and most importantly, our culture, civilization, and identity, as well as a sense of solidarity with underdeveloped and developing countries will remain at the center. We enjoy cordial and friendly relations with both our immediate neighbors, India and China. We aim at further building on these relations and working on the basis of mutual trust. We continue to enhance our relations with all our development partners and friendly countries across the world. We are grateful for all the support extended to Nepal by our friends and partners. Promoting cooperation based on mutual respect and trust is our priority. Our engagements at regional forums such as SAARC and BIMSTEC aim at promoting regional cooperation and harmony. We value regional processes and want to develop them for the common good. Nepal remains constructively engaged at the multilateral forums, including the UN and non-aligned movement. We are committed to the cause of global peace, security, and development, solidarity and cooperation with all friendly countries, including the small states, least developed countries, and landlocked developing countries, characterize our deliberations in such forums. We know that the pursuit of economic agenda is the mainstay of today's diplomacy. So our economic interests are of vital importance in our foreign policy engagements. Dear friends, the contemporary world is characterized by conflicts, contradictions, and paradoxes. Though the modernization has brought unprecedented wealth in the world, its distribution is not judicious and equitable. The gap between haves and have-nots has widened, causing social unrest. In addition, the world today is mired under inward-looking tendency and protectionism. The lines between truths and half-truths have been blurred. Thoughts and ideas are being reduced to the whims of tweets and Facebook posts. Identity politics is apparently seen as undermining the fundamental goals of ideologies. Racial, cultural, and issues are trying to undercut the overall ethos of class struggle. Against this context, Marxist ideologies and principles can best be utilized for the betterment of the oppressed and exploited communities across the world. It would help us to bridge this widening gap and establish the social ground for equality and justice, the essential component for peace, security, development, and prosperity. Our cooperation must promote the free flow of goods, services, and people, redefining the global order in favor of small nations and their peoples is necessary. Nepal believes that we must value the democratic right of independence and choice and stand together against all forms of external interference in the domestic affairs of our friendly countries. We must ensure that the voiceless people and states get a voice. Our focus must be on peaceful resolution of international disputes. We need to ensure that the international community, institutions, and organizations must play an apolitical role. Selective approaches targeting particular countries and regions must be stopped. Our course must be towards promoting a just and equitable international order, whereby all countries, small and big, fulfill their international obligations. We also need to ensure that all countries enjoy equitable opportunity to pursue their goals of development and prosperity. To conclude, attaining these goals is not that easy. Some may ignore us, ridicule at us, or even oppose us. However, our collective efforts oriented towards progress and change will be instrumental. Change is not the question why and how. It is a question of when and by whom. I am sure our deliberations in this seminar were productive in exploring more specifically the ways and means of using Marxism to attain the common cause of socialism. The need is to continue working together with a spirit of collaborative partnership. I thank you all for your attention.
I'd like to begin by thanking the Nepal Communist Party, as I did earlier also, and I think that we are all beneficiaries of having been able to meet each other, meet the Nepal Communist Party comrades at this important time, and share in the hope that Nepal is experiencing at this moment, and hope that is generating for South Asia and the rest of the world. So thank you so much, comrades, for this experience. I think that there's so much that the last couple of days that we have spent together, there's a lot that we can reflect on and a lot that we can think about and learn from. And I'll just try and kind of briefly share my impressions and my thoughts for where we can leave this. I think the first thing is that, of course, so many of us have made have established, comradeship and friendship with each other. So it's not, although we will be leaving this place, we will also still be in touch. We will also be sharing more about our respective movements. And definitely the communist movement, the Marxist idea, the communist movement, that is always an international movement. I don't think it is bounded by national boundaries at all. And so in that spirit of internationalism, I'm absolutely sure that this conference that we have had, that will help us to be in, more closely involved with each other's struggles, more closely in solidarity with each other. I would like to express one sense of sadness. I would request that no one should take it as an attack or anything like that. I see it as much, I reflect on it vis-a-vis my own party and our own movement as much as I would say to all of you. But I'm disappointed that among all the delegates and those who spoke here, those who were represented on the dais, there were so few women. That won't do. That won't do. We are now at a time when, and I say this because I say this in my own movement, my own party, my own country all the time, so I cannot stop myself from saying it here either, that we have to be a little more conscious of this. I'm sure that there are women leaders in our parties, there are women leaders in our movements, but the communist movement, the international communist movement cannot look like it has, two women in it. No, you have to have. We have to think more about how to correct that. And I'm sure there are other things as well of caste and region and language and everything that we need to think about diversity in our representations, all of us. And I do think of that as a challenge and a challenge that we can all embrace very positively and do a lot more about, because there's so much that can be done and that we can do. And I think a lot of the questions here are focused, the sense I got was that a lot of questions that people have, I know that the Chinese comrades are not with us, but a lot of questions that people had were about countries in which socialist governments and socialist governments have functioned, right? So there's a lot of interest and a lot of questions about that. And I think that that is probably, we are not, or none of us is probably most of us are not living in a very satisfied way about that. Because there's a lot of questions about the socialist experiences that we have. And I still realize from the questions that some comrades were asking and all of that, that there's still this hope for some kind of socialist center, like the Soviet Union was, so something like that. I would humbly think that that is probably something, while we should be absolutely committed to internationalism, that's probably something we should not be looking for. We shouldn't be looking for someone to show the way, someone to lead the entire international communist movement, international socialist movement. I don't think so. I think we will have to assess, while respecting the various movements that there are, the various parties that there are, there would also be, sharp critical analysis about actually existing socialisms that there have been, what we assess of them and how far they are moving ahead with socialism, what are the crises they are facing, what are the questions they are facing, they're bound to face in their treatment of nationality issues, in their treatment of working class struggles, all of that. So I think those are all issues that we have, and those are all questions we are bound to have, and we are going to have we are going to talk about them. I think a lot of us had the opportunity to speak with the Vietnamese comrades and learn a lot more about their movement and their party and their functioning there, and I'm sure that such conversations are important in the future as well. And even vis-a-vis Nepal here, I think so many of us have so much admiration and also so many questions. about how things are going to move ahead. And I'm sure that in the time we've spent here, we've had a chance to know more about how Nepali comrades are, our comrades here are grappling with all the issues that beset Nepal at this juncture, and how they are planning to move ahead with it, what are they thinking about it. I think we are all left with a better sense of it. I just want to say a couple of things more before I end here, which is that I think that we are here at a time when we're at a Marx bicentenary, right? I think that a little while ago, just earlier this month, very early this month, in fact on Marx's birth bicentenary, I was in Berlin at a conference, at an international conference which had been organized on that occasion. And I want to share with you something that I found there, which I found to be very important. There was a young woman there from the United States who spoke about her country. I want to share two experiences there. One was this young woman from America, and she had been part of the Occupy movement and all of that. And she talked about how she had no prior exposure to socialism at all. But that because of the Occupy movement, because of the recession that America experienced and the global recession that followed, she and so many other young people like her began to look around for answers, and in looking around for answers, that took them to Marx, that took them to reading Marx, that took them to socialism. So she was describing herself as a socialist, and she was, interested in, and she was talking about how at least a self-described socialist candidate came so close. Bernie Sanders came very close to being a candidate in the presidential elections. So we may, all of us, have different assessments of Bernie Sanders and what kind of socialism he represents. But I think the real important thing in that story was that young people were embracing socialism and looking for, reading Marx, looking for answers there. The second experience I found there was one young woman who had read some very interesting paper there and was part of all the discussions there on Marxist theory, social reproduction theory, and she was someone who studied in Canada, but her parents were Ukrainian. So I asked her, okay, there are others I meet here who have backgrounds in movements. How did you come to Marxism? What made you interested in Marxism? So she told me that what she found, what drew her to Marxism was that the fact that her parents were communists in Ukraine, and she said, I feel haunted by the collapse of those socialist experiments, and I feel like I want answers and I want to correct things the second time around, So that was a new generation. Instead of giving up in despair, was giving for hope. And and the last thing I think I want to share here is that in India also right now, when Dr. Jogendra was saying when the left front lost Tripura, they were knocking down, the right wing was knocking down Lenin statues, right? Now I want to end on this note, that when they were knocking down the Lenin statues, I know a teacher in Delhi who teaches university students, and he told me about how university students in his class were being, and that happened to be March 8th, International Women's Day. So he said his students in class were Googling who is Lenin and what did he have to say about women and what did the Communist Party have to say about women, and the entire class discussion became about Marxism and Leninism and all of that. So I think the more they try to knock us down, the more they try to write us off, I think we are here to stay, we are here to fight, and we are here to win the day tomorrow. So I will end with the slogans that are dear to all of us. Long live the revolution. I'll say that in the language that many of us in South Asia will understand as well. Inqilab Zindabad.
Honorable Pradeep Gyawali, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Government of Nepal. Distinguished leaders of political parties, Nepal Communist Party and Nepal Communist Party Masao, delegates, comrades and friends. I'm going to read out this declaration. All the comments, suggestions and inputs that we have provided have all been incorporated in this draft. The Declaration of International Seminar on Marxism and Socialism in commemoration of Karl Marx bicentenary in Kathmandu, Nepal on 30 to 31st May 2008. On the occasion of the bicentenary celebration of Karl Marx. Leaders and representatives of 23 communist, socialist and workers' parties from 17 countries of the world have participated in the international seminar on Marxism and Socialism, jointly hosted by the Nepal Communist Party and Nepal Communist Party Masal on 30 and 31st May 2018 in Kathmandu, Nepal. The participants represented in the seminar have exchanged their valuable opinions and views regarding the relevance of Marxism and communist socialist movements in the world in general and their countries in particular under the contemporary international political situation. Thus, we hereby unanimously adopt this declaration. Number one, this gathering has been an important opportunity for all of us to reflect on the contribution of Karl Marx to the working class and communist movement and development of socialism in the world. While commemorating the bicentenary of the birth of the Karl Marx, all of us believe in the relevance of Marxism, its creative implementation according to objective realities of the respective countries and learning lessons from the history. We have seriously deliberated and made discourses on the relevance of Marxism in the present context of the world. We recognize that the contribution of Karl Marx to philosophy, politics, economics, history and culture are important endowment to humanity as he became the most influential philosopher of the last millennium and in the present world. Marxism is still relevant and guiding all communist, socialist and working masses towards scientific socialism for a just, peaceful and prosperous world. Number two, we recognize that the contemporary world is undergoing through multiple contradictions, rapid scientific and technological innovations and changes, unequal distribution of wealth and resources, hegemony and imperialism are still persistent. The resistance and struggle of the Marxist parties and working masses have been contributing for a better world to realize justice, equality, liberty, peace and prosperity combined with socialism. We have realized the urgency of further strengthening the movement to march ahead. We believe in international solidarity and cooperation among the Marxist parties in the world. Number three, we extend our solidarity to all those who are fighting for people's democracy, socialism, justice, equality, peace, environmental protection and inclusivity, women liberation, end of racism, all forms of extremism, caste and gender discrimination, poverty, capitalist exploitation and monopoly capitalism in the world. Number four, we appreciate that Nepal Communist Party has demonstrated an unprecedented success in the creative implementation of Marxism. We congratulate the Nepal Communist Party for emerging as a strong party in Nepal, unifying the two largest communist parties, Communist Party of Nepal, United Marxist-Leninists, and the Nepal Communist Party, Maoist Center. Number five, we also congratulate the Nepal Communist Party for its landslide victory in the recently held election in the year 2017 and 2018 for local bodies, provincial assemblies and federal parliament, and subsequent formation of government. We wish every success of the communist government in Nepal in its endeavors. Number six, we express our commitment to promote and enrich Marxism through its creative application in respective countries to achieve socialism in the world. We also reaffirm our mutual solidarity and commitment to continue exchange of ideas and experiences among ourselves in the days to come. We would like to thank the Nepali comrades for organizing this program and providing us warm hospitality. Name of the participating parties are Socialist Alliance Australia, Socialist Party of Bangladesh, Revolutionary Worker Party of Bangladesh, Communist Party of Bangladesh, Workers Party of Bangladesh, Communist Party of China, MLPD Germany, CPNML Liberation India, Communist Party of India, CPI, Communist Party of India, Marxist, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Lao People's Revolutionary Party, Lao, Democratic Way, Morocco, Nepal Communist Party, Nepal Communist Party, Masal, Communist Party of Russian Federation, Communist Party of Sri Lanka, Socialist Revolutionary Communist Party of Sri Lanka, Revolutionary Workers' Party of South Africa, United Socialist Party, Venezuela, Communist Party of Vietnam, Socialist Party of Zambia. Thank you.
Dear comrades, great salute to you all. I am with you from the very beginning of the seminar, from the opening session to this last minute of the closing hour. I have listened to you. I have even tried to read your body language, your expressions, your responses, your participation in interactions. From all these, I have come to the conclusion that we should salute you for your firm commitment to Marxism and socialism. So I would like to salute you all for your adherence to Marxism, for your commitment to revolution and socialism. Your presence here, your participation in the seminar, your active participation in the interaction program question and answer session, you made this seminar a grand success. I hope you all have the same feeling as I have right now, that the seminar has been concluded as a grand success. Before ending this closing ceremony of the seminar, let me take the privilege to make a few remarks on the theme. From the very beginning, our party chairman and Right Honorable Prime Minister K.P. Oli, otherwise our another chairman, Comrade Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda, convener of this program, former Prime Minister and senior leader of our party, Comrade Madhav Kumar Nepal, has given our view on the Marxism and socialism today and the communist movement and revolutionary process in Nepal today. And you all have expressed your firm commitment on Marxism and socialism. So I don't want to repeat the general things again, and those things which have been already expressed here again. But I want to draw your attention before leaving the hall on some key issues. First thing that I want to draw your attention is the essence of the inner kernel of Marxism. Marx, we all have recognized highly the contributions of Karl Marx, paying tribute to Karl Marx. We have held up the contributions of Karl Marx, who was a great philosopher, thinker and revolutionary of the era. But it is still a debate in worldwide feminist movement. Okay, what is the inner kernel of Marxism, inner core of Marxism, life of Marxism, main essence of the Marxism? I would like to focus on this. That is, its scientific and revolutionary outlook, its methodology. Heaps and piles of conclusions are not its main part. Its main essence is the dialectical and historical materialism, which is the outlook, revolutionary old outlook. And materialistic dialectics is the method. This outlook and method is the main thing in Marxism. With this outlook and method, Marx, Engels, Lenin and all revolutionary authority applied Marxism creatively, developed Marxism, and now that is with us at the ideological open of the proletariats of the whole world. Why I am trying to focus on this? Because Marx himself, I have to say, he was compelled to say at the time when at the beginning Marxism was propounded, Marx said, if this is Marxism, I am not a Marxist. Why Marx was compelled to say like this? Because from the very beginning of Marxism, there was a trend, I should say, that is inherent dogmatism. Marx had to say like that because of the economic deterministic tendency, mechanical materialism, and dogmatism. That was distorting Marxism from the very beginning. That's why Marx said, if this is Marxism, I am not a Marxist. So, dogmatism, against dogmatism, you have to stand firm. That means we are equally against revisionism of any sort. That is true. But if you distort Marxism, giving up its true scientific methodological approach and essence, that will not be the ideological open of the proletariat and working class of the world. So that is the first thing that I want to focus on. The second thing is that, I want to just make it more clear, my point of view, that the main problem with us, or main important thing for us, is to understand Marxism in Marxist way. That may seem paradoxical, but it is a challenging thing for us. If you understand Marxism in a Marxist way, then you will be able to defend it. You will be able to apply it creatively in its own particular condition and situation, and you will be able to develop it. So, Marxism says, you must be critical to Marxism itself. That does not mean that you should go against the universal principles of Marxism. You should not and you must not. But you must be very clear that copying and pasting the texts of Marxist textbooks and parroting the things may make you writers or the speakers, but not the revolutionaries. That is why we all have to internalize Marxism as its main core thing, as the scientific and revolutionary outlook and methodology. Now, all the principal conclusions that are derived is because of this Marxist outlook and ideology. The first thing that I wanted to focus on. The second thing is that Marxism is a guiding principle and also a scientific ideology. So, it cannot be a guiding principle unless and until you develop it. You develop it or you enrich it when you implement in your particular objective condition. Without enriching Marxism, none of the communists will be able to apply Marxism in its own particular condition, in objective situation. And you have to develop it in that course of enriching further in its philosophical, in its political, economical, or in its scientific socialist field. So you have to be able to develop itself as a science. It's not a dogma, it's not complete. So you have to go on developing Marxism. If you want to be a genuine Marxist, if you want to be a genuine revolutionary, if you want to transform the whole society, if you want to liberate the working people and ultimately the emancipation of the whole humankind. So for that I want to focus on two things. From two angles, we have to make efforts to develop Marxism. One, we have to be able to cope with the challenge posed by the new objective situation and the phenomenon in the world today. So the things and phenomenon that are objectively new should be addressed by developing Marxism. From quantum mechanics to globalized capitalism today, the information technology that has developed in such a space that it was not imaginable before a few years. Production technology has also been changed to greater extent. Reproduction has been taking place, and climate change phenomenon is also here with us. So you have to develop the Marxism, we have to develop the Marxism addressing this objective situation that has been changed. Otherwise, your revolutionary, we salute our revolutionary intention and integrity. We commit that we are Marxist. We repeat the slogans of Marxist principle conclusions. But if we cannot address the change, the objective change that has been here in the world today, you cannot be able to develop the revolutionary movement. Because the main thing is the ideology. So, first thing, we have to develop Marxism addressing the objective change in the old scenario. We should not think that because we are Marxist, Marxism has every answer for all the times, for every corner. So these are the things seen on the surface. Everybody can see very openly, nakedly, and you have to be able to develop the Marxism to cope with objective challenges. Second thing is that we should be able to develop Marxism with the synthesis of the international communist movement, particularly synthesize the reasons, the subjective reasons of counter-revolution in erstwhile socialist regions. What were the subjective reasons behind it? Of course, there was objective reason, because socialism is a transitional phase and you cannot rule out the possibility of counter-revolution at all. There may be, But objective condition is there does not mean that counter-revolution is inevitable. We can avoid the counter-revolution. What were the subjective weaknesses of the Communist Party and Communist Revolution and Communist regimes at those times? So that are to be synthesized, and those weaknesses are to be corrected. So I do not have time to explain on it for the road or for the further discussion. Two main things we see as the weakness. One is the lack of efficient democratic practice within the Communist Party, inner party democracy, in the society, and the main thing is the lack of institutional objective mechanism to rule the government, the state. Lenin proposed the Soviet mechanism, but Lenin would not be there to practice Soviet model of democracy. Soviet was later on turned into a puppet Soviet, and everything was decided by party, and in the party there was not a good democracy. Ultimately that was decided by few leaders, and that alienated the party with the masses, and later on when peaceful counter-revolution took place, neither there was revolutionists to rebel in the party, nor the masses rose in the struggle to shape the state. So, lack of democracy is one fundamental weakness that the communists in the erstwhile regimes was having, and that led to the counter-revolution. So we have to correct it. That is one main thing. I want to emphasize once again, without any institutional objective mechanism of the people or the toiling masses to be in the government and rule this country, we can be a benevolent dictator for some time, but not a genuine proletariat ruler. So that is the main thing. The second thing is that ideological cultural level was so weak. Once the party captured the state power, whole ideological cultural movement were lacking and revisionism popped up. No one was there to rebel, to oppose, and finally the party was degenerated. When the party was degenerated, there was not any mechanism to save the state, and finally the state was collapsed. So these are the two main reasons, subjective reasons for the counter-revolution: ideological cultural weakness and low level of ideological cultural level, and the lack of adequate democracy in the party and the state. So that is to be corrected. So then we have the scope to build socialism, and we are sure that we will build socialism, we will win the world. So that is the first thing that I want to draw into details comments. The second thing about Nepal. Our Prime Minister and Chairman gave a very splendid explanation of the Nepal's revolutionary change. I don't want to repeat more, but some points I want to add or make more clear. In Nepal, in 1949, we established Nepal Communist Party, and that was formed in India. And at that time we were very weak. We could not lead the bourgeois democratic revolution. Later on we gained strength because of our activities. And then later on we struggled on two fronts: armed struggle and peaceful people's movement, peaceful struggle. That does not mean that with the concentration we went in two fronts. That is not true. We had differences at that time. One of us went to army struggle, another led the peaceful people's movement. But objectively, we joined hands together. We coordinated armed struggle and peaceful people's movement. And not only the communist and left forces were leading the armed struggle and people's peaceful movement, joined hands together, but we were able to bring the bourgeois liberal forces in that movement, and ultimately cumulative effect was seen in 2006 April movement. That was the culminated movement and which abolished the monarchy. The path I am from in both aspects, movement in Nepal is unique and original. Regarding the path, we had two fronts. We joined hands together. We brought the liberal bourgeois on board, joined hands with them against monarchy, and then we initiated the peace process. Through peace process, we went to the Constituent Assembly election. Constituent Assembly itself declared the country as a republican state, and then 2 rounds of Constituent Assembly elections, and finally Constituent Assembly promulgated the new constitution, institutionalizing all the revolutionary and democratic achievements that we had, and by constitution that is socialism-oriented, inclusive democracy. But what we think is that, our party thinks is that that is a one type of people's democracy. We cannot claim that that people's democracy is identical with that of China or Vietnam or like that, which seizes the state power totally. Revolutionary state organs were revolutionized at once when they took the state power. But here that is not the case. But anti-feudal democratic, bourgeois democratic revolution is basically and mainly completed. Leadership is in hands of communists. We have framed out the new constitution, which is socialism-oriented, inclusive democracy, one type of people's democracy, and now we are on the path of consolidating the people's democracy and giving the fruits of people's democracy to the general masses, exploited masses. So our immediate tactics is socialism-oriented economic prosperity, or economic development and prosperity with social justice. But that will make the conducive atmosphere and material condition for socialism. But to go to socialism is not easy, and we cannot make the hast effort to go to socialism directly. So we have to transform this one type of people's democracy to people's democracy. We will establish a prosperous Nepal with social justice that will give the material condition right for the socialism, and then on we will go to socialism. So what will be the path? Right now, because of our synthesis of the international communist movement that democracy is must in the communist movement and state running, we are practicing multi-party competition. One. Second is that we communists led in Nepal the whole democratic movement, and multi-party competition is that part. And from the multi-party competition itself, we are leading the country. So why should we give up that whole process? So that is why we are leading the country through the multi-party competition. We are hopeful that we will lead the country accomplishing this first immediate task of economic prosperity and social justice, making the ground for socialism, and then lead towards socialism. That may take some time. We are not in haste, but we will not give up. We will never abandon our goal of scientific socialism. That is what we are starting. Comrades, if we want to understand the revolution of Nepal from the Marxist textbooks, it will not be possible. If we try to understand Nepali revolution from the model of revolution that has been completed in other countries, that is not possible. Because you don't have It's unique and original in character. But it's basically a Buddha democratic revolution, and we are going to lead it to socialist revolution. So far as the forms of struggle is concerned, we think that it can be possible going to peaceful multi-party competition. But as a Marxist, we cannot rule out the possibility of any other form of struggle. Because form of struggle is not dependent only on our wish. What we wish that will happen. It's not the matter of passive struggle like this. If the past enemies is the imperialist forces, if the reactionaries blocked our path of peaceful multi-party competition for transformation of the society towards socialism, then we will not keep mum. We will be ready to use whatever form of struggle is necessary, and we will lead that revolution to socialism. That is our commitment. So this is what we are doing here in Nepal. The comrades, now we have great opportunity and serious challenges too. We are out of it. We invited to celebrate and commemorate Karl Marx's bicentenary birthday, and also share our views on Nepali Communist movement and Nepali revolution. That does not mean that we are going to show off before you that we communists in Nepal did so and so and so. No. If our experiences, our model of democracy that we are going to practice now is of any use to you as a reference, okay, it is our pleasure. But the main thing, what we want from you is the suggestions, critical comments, to shape the revolution and take it forward. That's what we want. Though we are aware and we are cautious, but there is every danger of deviation and departure. Because we are in the government, not only in the federal government. 6 out of the 7 provinces have been ruled by our party. Largest number of local bodies we represent there. So we are the strongest party. So far as the votes are concerned, 53% of the votes are represented by the single party in Nepal. And we have that opportunity that most probably, I think most probably, Nepal Communist Party is the largest party of the old communist movement, which has gained power through multi-party competition today. This is the fact. But comrades of the old, comrades of different countries, please give us the advice, give us the suggestions. What should we do to continue the revolution? To shape the revolution. So we humbly request you to have the critical comments, to make the criticisms if any, to give the suggestions. For example, we have the government, central government. If we could not deliver it to the people, then there will be a risk of sufferings and setbacks of the communist movement and the country as well. So